All right, good evening all. We will call this meeting to order. Let the record show it is 6:30. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Crave here.
Bonnie here.
Dolphin here. Schneider here. Barr here.
Cummings here.
Gary's here. All right, all present. I have in front of me verification of proper meeting notices being posted. Brings us to our agenda. Are there any additions, alterations to our agenda this evening? There are none.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented. Cummings will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Ms. Cummings to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 voice vote. Brings us to the minutes from the regular meeting of November 13th in the open session. Are there any noted corrections needed, additions, subtractions to the minutes?
I will move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Crave, seconded by Mr. Dolphin, to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 13th as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to the action of the minutes from the Building and Grounds Committee meeting from December 4th. Any noted changes here?
I'll make a motion to approve the Building and Grounds Committee meeting, Wednesday, December 4th meeting minutes.
I will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Yurgis, seconded by Mr. Dolphin, to approve the Building and Grounds Committee meeting minutes from December 4th. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 7-0 vote. We're going right along to board reports, and I will turn the floor over to Mrs. Spoke for a board report this evening. You have the floor.
Alrighty. So our advanced communication class and choir visited Riverwalk today and made lasting memories with the residents. NHS and FBLA walked to Riverwalk last week and decorated cookies and played bingo with the residents there. Coming up, we have our holiday week. Our dress-up days are Monday, Pajama Day. Tuesday is Color Wars. Wednesday is Christmas in July / Hawaiian Day. Thursday is Christmas Object. And Friday is Holiday Spirit Wear. Flex activities for that week, the week before break, the high school will have an assembly Tuesday through Friday. Each assembly will have a different game, such as marshmallow toss, wrapping relay, or reindeer toss, put on by the student council. Access testing. Our language learners have been doing the access testing with Mrs. Shank. This test assesses students on their English skills in the area of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Students that score high enough on the access test graduate out of the English Language Learner Program. New this year for the graduation ceremony is that any student that graduated out of our English Language Learner Program will wear red cords during the ceremony. Band and choir performance. On Tuesday, December 17th, we have our high school band and choir holiday concert. We'd love to see all of you in our community at this performance. They did perform at the Wisconsin Herd game on Friday, November 29th. It was well attended by our Waterloo community, and the students did a wonderful job. FFA poinsettia sale, also on Tuesday, December 17th, from 3:30 to 6:30, our horticulture class will be selling the poinsettias that they have been taking care of these past few weeks. Winter sport update. Our winter sports of girls basketball, boys hockey, and wrestling just kicked off. Each one is off to a great start and holds the promise of a great season. Any questions?
I'm still waiting for a good joke.
I haven't got any of those, so.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks, Martha. We'll now go to a presentation to the board on the 8th graders Packers Community Grant. So I'll turn the floor over to the presentation.
Here we go.
Stand over there so I can get a good view of you. Stand over there so I can get here.
All right. Well, a long time ago, all you people were young ones, developing your pride in your school, developing your pride in your community. In fact, I congratulate you for continuing by being on the school board, very difficult task. You're really proud of your community. So building school pride, building community is what we're all about at the middle school and intermediate school. And so, in fact, we started something called the Pirate Games. We're going to be talking about that shortly. And Pirate Games, our goal is to really build memories for students, to build pride in our school, to build teamwork. Lots of times we hear about bullying and things like that, but sometimes the kids that feel like they're bullied, they feel like they don't fit in. And so that's why we try to have everybody be a part of something that we're doing in intermediate and middle school. And develop some of their interests, develop some of their pride in each other, and teamwork, really promoting teamwork. So in fact, Pirate Games actually started a couple years ago. When I first took over student council, I think we had maybe 5 or 6 kids were in student council. But now, this last year, I had 65 students run for student council officer this past year. So 65 different students want to be in their shoes. So, but these are some very great students. So I think that the Pirate Games is something that the kids are going to talk about. We applied for a grant, and Mrs. Zeman sent me information on, and it's called the Character Playbook Grant by the Green Bay Packers. And so we thought, what a great way to exemplify our program, to show other schools what we do here, and to be a kind of a model for other schools to follow. And so we applied for the grant, and we're very excited that we won the grant. And so we actually picked 10 schools from the state of Wisconsin, 10 schools out of 300 and some middle schools. They picked 10 schools to represent the grant. And so we actually put in for the maximum, which was $500, so I thought that would be good. And so we actually found out that we won. And these students here are going to kind of present that grant, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to our fantastic student council officers and our student council.
Thanks, Mr. Thorson.
Yeah.
Ready, break.
Okay, I'm Lily.
I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Brock.
I'm Grant.
I'm J-Mo.
I'm proud to present an idea that will directly impact all of our middle school students. It's called the Pirate Games. It may be called games, but actually it's fun and interactive activities that build teamwork, student relationships, educate oneself and others, make school more fun and exciting, fosters relationships in our community, and promotes teamwork and spirit. We need this project to happen to build school and community pride, promote anti-bullying, and get everyone involved in school, which helps them like school. We need to make this a great school made up of great students.
We will bring the project to life entitled The Pirate Games in the following ways. Each grade has 3 homerooms entitled Pirate Time. The Pirate Time has a teacher, leader, and student leader, representatives that are elected to attend organization meetings as student council members. The school year will be broken down into 20 Pirate Time competitions, with each competition scoring a maximum of 10 points. Teams always get a minimum of 4 points just for participating. The leadership committee, composed of student council officers and Pirate Time representatives, will select and plan the 20 competitions. A bulletin board will tally the running score for each of the competitions. As you will see, all the students can be engaged, whether it be a team tug of war, drawing an AODA poster, using academics to win the chess or geography bee, or athletic events. Students can use their creativity, leadership, art, music, academic, or athletic abilities. At this time, Brock will introduce the competitions.
Some of the competitions include team colors, name, lightning, tug of war, soccer, flag football, 3-on-3 basketball, 6-on-6 volleyball, AODA posters, door decorating, tardy competition, referral competition, chess, boat race, kickball, spelling bee, geography bee, penny war, community food drive, and candy grams.
The competitions in the Pirate Games will be held during our Pirate Time and assemblies held in the gym. During these assemblies, we will promote new cheers to raise school spirit and have engaging speakers from the high school and or community. No one loses in the Pirate Games. The first place homeroom team that has the most points at the end of the year wins a free field trip to the Kalahari Water Park in Wisconsin Dells. The second and third place winners get an end of the year pizza party with all the others having an ice cream snack.
For the cost breakdown, we have 3 main forms of revenue, which is the penny war, candy grams, and the character playbook grant, totaling $1,400. We have expenses such as the Kalahari, which is $500, plus frosting, pizza parties, ice cream, and supplies, which also totals to $1,400. And we're hoping to get a plaque to put the names of each winning pirate time on.
In conclusion, it is our vision that we want a great school that not only has great academics, but a great school spirit as well. A school free of bullying that not only builds our school community, but the outlying community as well. We're excited to receive this grant and hope that it promotes and shows other schools to be just like us.
Thank you for supporting the Pirate Games. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
What does AODA stand for?
Anti-alcohol and drug abuse.
Got it.
Any other questions? No, it looks like you have no questions. You were very thorough in your presentation, and on behalf of the board, we would, I guess, congratulate you for winning this grant and representing Waterloo. So thank you. All right, moving right along. The Building and Grounds Committee meetings report is not really as engaging as the presentation. But other committee members, feel free to join in. We went through the agenda items, some of which we've already approved in previous meetings, board meetings and committee meetings. We're waiting on a few, some pricing on a few key items before we come to the board for a final approval. And not a ton to report. Other guys, anything to add that I've not spoken on? I mean, it was, we did do some, would appreciate or should make notice that Susie prepared a great agenda with some 5-year, 10-year projects to put it all out on paper in front of us, so we can keep an eye on some of these larger expenditures and try to plan for them budgetarily to work them in, so it's not, we try to be preventative in our, I guess, building and grounds versus reactive when we have something major happen, so. So yeah. Any questions? All right, move into administrative reports. We'll start with Mr. Bartelt on the Sabres screening. You have the floor.
Awesome, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, that's tough to follow up with what the middle school's doing, so congratulations to them. Nice job, students. Ms. Zeman, great work. I just want to touch base quickly to give an update on Sabres and explain what that is. So, students in grades 2 to 12 completed what's called a Sabres screener, and it stands for Social, Academic, and Emotional Behavioral Risk Screener. Mrs. Armentrout talked about it last school year. We did a small pilot through some elementary classrooms, intermediate, middle, and high school to kind of assess to see how it went, what we can improve upon. This school year in October, we had all students in grades 2nd grade through 12th grade complete this Sabres screener. And again, the goal of that is to get information from our students. It's about a 2 to 3 minute survey asking students questions socially and emotionally and behaviorally where they feel they are at. And then ultimately it gives a score back to us. We also have the teachers that completed a screener for each one of the students they were assigned to. Each one of those take about 2 to 3 minutes as well. With that information, so we have all the information now of where the students rated themselves in those areas, 2nd grade through 12th grade. Our teachers did the same thing. We can compare between teachers and how what they see with those students and how the students perceive themselves. Students will take the screener again in sometime late February or early March. and we will see kind of where their scores are at. I'm going to speak specifically for the high school, what we do with that information. So we have a system in place at the high school, we call it Kid Connection. I believe some of the other buildings use it as well. So any student that is screened and considered high risk, which would mean maybe they rated themselves lower academically through some questions, or emotionally or behaviorally, or the teacher rated them and the score came back high risk. If they are considered high risk, we have about 36 students in our high school based on the screener that are high risk. Each teacher now has a minimum of 2 high school students that they are doing weekly check-ins with. Informally, getting to know them, focusing on how their behavior is, their emotions, academics, their interests. It's more of getting that student connected to our school and to have a go-to person at the high school. So our goal at the high school is when they take the screener again in late February or early March, our scores will have less than 36 students that are screened at high risk. We want to decrease that number. So it's a really neat way to connect our students. We're using the Saver screener for our Kid Connection to connect students to school, make sure they're engaged, make sure there's an adult at school that they can trust and go to if there are questions. Our district now, tomorrow, Mrs. Armitrout and our student service team is reviewing all of the data, 2nd grade through 12th grade, and we will be discussing plans of how we're using that data moving forward. So again, looking at not just the academics, but just the emotional side of students, behavioral side of students, how we can help support them, what systems we can put in place to help support our students throughout the 8 o'clock to 3:20 timeline. Any questions about Savers and what that looks like or what we're doing with it?
Questions?
I think it sounds really good.
Same.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to hear what kind of data you collect.
Awesome, thank you everyone.
Thank you. Turn it over to Ms. Zeman on the grant proposal outcome.
Well, you already heard the presentation, and the only thing I want to add is that I want to make public how proud I am of the students and Mr. Thorson and all of their hard work and initiative in putting the presentation together. So I think they had a really good time with it, and I'm very proud of what they've done.
Is this due on the grant, is it a yearly offering?
It's
To
just
the backers, or
the 1 year,
just
$500.
1 year?
Yeah. I'm hoping that they do it again and that we could apply again next year.
Sure. Well, yeah, job well done. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Ms. Weekend to talk about family engagement activities. Can't hear you.
Well, we see you talking, Holly, but we don't have any sound.
Here, can you hear me now?
Now we
Yep.
see you.
All right, well, we're super proud at the elementary school of all of our family engagement activities. And I'm gonna try to be really technology with it and share the presentation that we've created about our family engagement. Fingers crossed that I can do this. If I push share, I think this might happen. So can you see my presentation?
Yep.
Can you say yes?
Yes.
Good. Okay, let me make it a slideshow. I don't know if I can do that or not. See, I'm not as, here, this one. Okay. So, like I said, we're really, really proud of it. And so these are just some pictures and a slideshow that we've created with all of our family engagement activities that our grade level teachers create and that our students and families participate in. So 4th grade, towards the end of the year, does a adjective fashion show. So they write, they show off their grammar skills by participating in this. They choose an outfit and then they write about their attire. It's sort of cool to see the kids kind of walking across. They also do their famous wax museum. So that comes up near the end of the year where they talk about famous people that influenced Wisconsin. So many students and families come to join us to learn about some historical Wisconsin influencers. Now we're always very excited to see who they might be. So they're always surprising to me. Arbor Day, they do in 4th grade as well. They receive plants from the state to plant with their families, and the students in 4th grade also participate in helping clean up the school and the community in the springtime. And they also, one of the things they brought back too that they didn't mention is their trip to the Historical Society, which is another event that I think is really important. They go down to the Waterloo Historical Society and learn about the Waterloo history as well. 1st grade just did this, Balloons Over Broadway. It's their annual Thanksgiving Day parade, and the kids made balloon animals. You probably saw it on Facebook, families, and they march around school, and it's really cool to see. They walk down the 4K to the 4th grade hallways, and classes come out, and families come in. So they participate at home with their families. So here's some pictures of this year's Balloons Over Broadway. So it was really cool, and we do it as a live event on Facebook. 3rd grade, they're about to do this on Friday. They're going to the Nutcracker, and last week Friday they had their 3rd grade Nutcracker Family Day, and so families came in. Teachers said it was really well attended. I wasn't there. They always have fun when I'm not there. But this was a really fun day for families. Did a whole presentation, and they did some crafts around their trip then to the Nutcracker this Friday. They also do Read Across America, so they invite guests, readers into their classrooms to read to students. They really like seeing kind of a surprise reader come in. Could be their mom or dad, could be, whoever the teacher has found. 4K Gingerbread Day is coming up at the end of, right before Christmas break, where families come in and there's a giant gingerbread party happening with our 4K students and their special grown-ups in the NPR. Santa sometimes joins us, you can see. So that's always a fun event. We always celebrate the Day of the Young Child at the end of April. That's always a fun time with families. Hopefully we get outside. 2nd grade did a planting and a painting night, so they were helping us get our garden planted, decorating our garden, and creating pickets with their families. So that's an event that comes up in the spring. Biographies, they started this year, 2nd grade biography projects, where they do a biography research, and then they create the poster, and families come in and see their posters. And then last but not least, we have the 100th Day of School, which usually comes up sometime in February. It depends on snow days, but we always have fun in kindergarten where we invite families to come in and celebrate the 100th Day of School with a variety of stations featuring the number 100. So, yeah, so now if I present. So any questions? Like I said, I'm super thrilled with all of the family events that we do at the elementary school. And even our librarian who didn't add to this, but she does projects where she creates things with families. It's really great. So, hooray for the teachers and music programs and everything else that happens at the elementary school. So, any questions on our family engagement?
I attended the Wax Museum program last year from start to finish. It was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're always welcome. You guys can always come to any family events you want to come to. So even if you don't have a child at grade level, please feel free to come to our family events.
So how come they always like it better when you're not there?
I know, right? No, I just happened to be on vacation. I took a day off the day that they had the 3rd grade thing, so I always tease them that they always have fun when I'm not there, so. I love family events, so.
All right, thank you, Ms. Vegan.
All right, no problem. Thanks, you guys.
We'll turn it over to Ms. Armentrout to talk about the Waterloo Community Playgroup updates and the transition incentive grant funding.
All right, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm gonna also try to present my screen. So just, I selected a couple updates in special education and student services for this month for the board. And one of the areas that I wanted to highlight is our indicator 14, the transition incentive grant funding. So every 5 years, districts in Wisconsin are required to survey their high school graduates a year after they graduate. And this allows us and the state to collect data on how our students that received special education are doing in the area of secondary education, post-secondary education, as well as competitive employment. But districts also have the opportunity each year to voluntarily participate in this survey process, and we have taken advantage of that each year. And so basically what happens is, depending on the number of students who graduate that received special education the year before, we reach out and personally make phone calls to survey families or students. And then for every eligible survey, the district can earn about just under $950 per eligible survey. So this year, I'm happy to share that we were able to sign to receive about just under $1,900 from the eligible surveys that will go back into our fund. Any questions on that?
Oh, not hearing any.
Okay, perfect. Then just an update on our Waterloo Community Playgroup. I am very excited. This is a new endeavor that we started this year to increase opportunities for families to in Waterloo to connect and start learning about language and the importance of reading and just engage in the school community. This, again, is offered the first and third Fridays. We have one in the morning and one in the afternoon to meet the varying needs of families. And this has resulted in a really good mix of younger children in our community coming in. We have infants all the way through age 4 coming in with a variety of caregivers. That includes parents and grandparents and also in-home daycare providers. I want to applaud and recognize the staff that are running this playgroup for the community. Mrs. Heather Wackler, who's our early childhood special educator, Ms. Emma Veach, who's our occupational therapist, and then Ms. Emily Marty, who is our speech language pathologist. And again, our turnout has been good, so just sharing some of the experiences. They create a theme-based experience where families can participate in crafts and activities, and then we can share information, like I said, on language development and literacy skills and things like that. So overall, we really feel like this has been a successful, positive outreach where community members can network and interact positively with their kids in our school. Any questions about our playgroup?
Not hearing any.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to Susan to talk about the upcoming audit report.
All right, so I handed out everyone a few documents that I thought you guys would like to see out of the draft documents I have. So I've got statement of revenues and expenses, got the balance sheet, and then I've got our Fund 39 debt service information there. So for the last 6 months, I've been working with Katie, Sam, and Paul Frant from Baker Tilly to get our audit done. They issued the draft financial statements earlier this December. The audited financial statements due to the DPI on December 15th. They should be filing on Friday the 13th, so that'll be done soon. Paul France will be on remotely at our January 8th meeting to go over everything. But looking at our statement of revenues and expenditures, our total governmental fund balance increased $408,459. The starting balance was $792,739, with the anticipated ending balance of just a little over $4 million. So the increase came from Fund 10 of $234,968, just a little under $100,000 from Fund 21, which is our activities and scholarship funds, a little under $25,000 from Fund 50, our food service, $47,000 from Fund 80, which is our community service fund, and then the remaining $1,100 is from Fund 39 and our Fund 46 that we put into. Our general obligation debt, which is Fund 39, as of June 30th is $12,440,000. These are the debts issued with our 2018 capital referendum project that will reach maturity in March 2038. So last year, we had 3 findings, one for preparation of financial statements, material audit adjustments, and excess actual expenditures over budget. This year, we just had the one finding for preparation of financial statements, and there were no journal entries. As of right now, it's the draft. 95% of Baker Tilly's clients have this finding. I did talk with Paul, and he's going to help set me with some documents to hopefully prepare them next year. At least I'll try so that we don't have any findings. But I'm pleased overall with the 23-24 fiscal year. We used up the remainder of our ESSER and REAP funds and some other one-time grant funding. I don't necessarily anticipate having a positive net change in all the funds going forward because of that financial cliff that the ESSER funds kind of created for us, but we're going to work hard to bridge that gap and serve our students well. And you guys will get a formal document when they're issued. Any questions?
So at the next meeting that Baker Tilly will present.
Yeah, they weren't quite done, so I think it's better just to have the final thing, so, yeah.
Any questions?
If you think of some, you can email me and I can have them report on it for next meeting, but, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henning, anything to report or talk about?
Yeah, I can just give a quick update on the agriculture building. Hopefully you've had a chance to go back and see the progress. They completed the 4th dormer today. The roof is basically completed and the sidewalls are starting to show up. They spent the last couple days primarily finishing up the plumbing, putting in the floor drains and several items so that they can potentially pour concrete in the coming week, weather provided, and then they also trenched in the electrical in the last day or two as well. So it's getting much closer and starting to look like a building very fast, so we hope the weather holds out and we'll be there soon.
Any questions?
I looked it over that concession area, it looks massive, I know square footage, it's a little more than the old one, but just the layout the other way and the 2 serving windows, it's like really sweet looking. So far so good in my
A
opinion.
little nicer than what they had.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make them work tomorrow, are you?
When's the late start?
It's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be cool. It'll be 10 minutes. All right, moving right along, we'll go to the approval of bills and vouchers. We have the superintendent's listing of disbursements, the treasurer's report, and the district receipts for the month of November. Are there any questions that remain unanswered? Anyone would need clarification on this time? Then I would look for a motion.
I will so move for approval.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Yurgis, and just to clarify before we do take a vote, that would be to approve the treasurer's report, the superintendent's listing of disbursements through November 30th and the district receipts for the month of November.
Yes.
Any further discussion? That will be a roll call vote.
Crave, yes.
Tony, yes.
Dolphin, yes. Schneider, yes.
Cummings, yes.
Jurgis, yes.
All right, motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Are there any legislative updates this evening? Okay. Any announcements other than, again, congrats to our middle schoolers for winning that grant and.
I did send a letter around, hopefully you had a chance to read it, I think it's over here in front of Susan now, but we had some alumni come through the building several weeks ago and they sent a nice thank you letter showing appreciation for the staff and the district for hosting them.
And that was, I read it briefly, but 50-year
Yeah,
reunion?
50-year.
So I'm sure it looks a little different. And some the same. Is there anyone who wishes to provide public input this evening? Clear it out. All right, we'll get into new business. Action item A is staff positions. It looks that we have 6 positions for approval this evening. Any questions on the staff positions? The 2 assistant wrestling, are those paid positions or volunteer?
They are paid positions, and one would be for boys and one would be for the girls wrestling program.
I move to approve the staff positions as presented. Cummings was second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Ms. Cummings to approve the positions as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 voice vote. Action item B is the lockdown and school intruder drill. The district is mandated to report on this yearly to the board. And it was conducted on October 4th at 1:30 p.m. As it states in your informer packet, students and staff are taught to run, hide, fight, Alice, and use options-based resources to school intruder threats. Any questions in regards to the drill that was conducted at the school? So what we're looking for here is just a motion to accept the report that the lockdown and school intruder drill were completed. Someone like to make that motion?
Cummings will make that motion.
For a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Cummings has made the motion and Mr. Farley has seconded to accept the report of the lockdown and school intruder drill conducted on October 4th at 1:30 p.m. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Into barrage of discussion items here. First discussion item is the school board election dates. Deadline for non-candidacy is December 27th. However, the office will be closed after the end of the day on December 20th for holiday break, so anyone filling out non-candidacy paperwork is asked to reach out to the office, district office that is, by 4:15 p.m. on December 20th. The deadline for new candidates to file is January 7th, 2025. And again, the office noted the office closes at 4:15 p.m., so any new candidates are asked to arrive prior to 4:15 p.m. Any discussion there? Okay. Moving right along, our discussion item D, school perceptions board survey tool. I believe everyone received an email. Can everyone confirm that they received the email? Okay. So please fill out that survey so we can analyze that data and get it back. We want to put a date by which we should expect everyone to have this done. No pressure. Did everyone have it done by the next meeting? How quickly can we, once it's submitted, can we get data back?
Instantly, it's in our account, so we can go in and access that.
Okay. So if everyone, is our next meeting is the 8th, is that right?
Yep.
We can't look around. So if everyone could have this done by the 6th of January, and give a day to, or or do you need it sooner than that to put anything in the agenda?
No, I do.
Okay. That's fine. All right, so please look to have this done by 1/6 of 25. Any other questions? All right, we'll go on to discussion item E, Wisconsin Education Convention. As noted, the Wisconsin School Board Association will hold an annual convention in Milwaukee for school board members. Board members are open and encouraged to attend. Please contact the district office so you can reserve hotel rooms and complete the registration. The convention is January 22nd through the 24th, and it is held down in Milwaukee. So, it's noted it has professional development opportunities, business meeting, etc. So, by all means, feel free to attend if it's your schedule. Any questions on the convention? Anyone believe they're gonna attend at this point?
I'm gonna try, but I can't promise. It's not supposed to snow, Chad.
We need some snow.
All right, discussion item F, school report cards. As noted in your former packet, the district again received a quality rating on the state DPI report cards. We're down a bit from last year, but the report card is still something to be proud of. As you can see here in the local area that they've put a summary table together, we're at number 3 with a 68.2 rating, and the top being 79.9. Any questions or discussion regarding the school report cards? I think it's good to see that we are in the upper echelon, especially when we talk about operating referendums and look at school budgets, and if you look at the per pupil spend in Waterloo, we're obviously performing pretty well for the dollars that are being spent here.
I agree. When I look at some of our neighbors around us and what they are spending and what their grades are, it's not, we look really good.
What goes into the rating,
Into the what?
into that rating that they give?
There's quite a bit of detail in the report itself, but it's made up of, a number of pieces. So obviously, we have 4 schools, grade elementary, intermediate, middle, and high school, and so each one is a little bit different. Some's more geared towards post-readiness, some's a little more based on achievement, but then those 4 scores go into the district report card. So you can kind of, if you look at the report cards in your packet, you can see all the pieces that are in that.
So there seems to be a lot of focus on English, language arts, and mathematics across all 4 schools, is that correct?
For sure, yeah, that's the achievement piece.
And the thing that I noted when I reviewed this data is that we do have a slight discrepancy. I mean, we have about a 30% Hispanic or Latino population in our district, and our scores across our white students and our Hispanic and Latino students is significantly different. What are we doing to address that gap?
Yeah, that's obviously been the, elephant in the room for the entire state of Wisconsin for decades now.
Yeah.
And
It
so-
needs to be out, it means to not be an elephant, right?
Right.
We know our population is changing, this is a demographic leading indicator too, so let's talk about it, so we can raise it.
Yeah, for sure. No, and we certainly have our ESL services in the district that we work with English language learners and various populations, but it's about making sure that we're serving all of our students and the ones that are in the different demographics, making sure that we're providing equitable services to them as well.
Do the other schools that we're getting compared to on the list, do they have a similar demographic?
The entire state does.
Okay.
We're nearing an entire country with similar demographic,
Yeah.
so it's not unique to us really anymore. And I did notice, I mean, we have a trend in our mathematics. We've know we've made some changes to our mathematics programming. Are we continuing to evaluate that? I mean, we score lower in mathematics for sure than we do in English language arts. And like our students through high school struggle with those standardized testings related to mathematics. It's definitely something we see.
Question I would have, or just a thought rather, as we look at moving towards finding ready, would we need to anticipate a potential drop in these scores when we shift our learning basis?
I think that's certainly a fear that some will have, but I don't believe so, no. Because it's just we're still focusing on, you know, the same things that we've always focused on. It's just a little bit different way to go about doing it, and obviously paying attention to all kids, no matter what pathway they're on, not just necessarily the 30 or 40% that are going on to college.
Sure.
And as you know, that Scott Carr work that's heavy in the high school, where, you know, it's not quite as much in the elementary as well.
Right.
So you're pushing a lot of academics and stuff early on, and as students get older, they get an opportunity to expand and go into the elective areas and do other things to prepare for what's after high school.
I mean, I would congratulate our district on where we stand in comparison, but I think that, you know, these numbers also give us a chance to take a look at where we have opportunity, and that's where I would want us to focus.
Yep. In the same sense, I would echo the sentiment, because we're always trying to be better, but just imagine if we had the per pupil spend of some of our neighbors, you know, what we could do, what the possibilities would be. It's always somewhat gates us. Luckily, we're able to perform where we are. Any other questions or discussion, or should we move on? We're moving on. Discussion item G, administrative contracts. It's noted that January is the month of administrator contracts are to be reviewed by the school board. All 6 administrative contracts will be on the agenda for January. Any board member has any concerns about an administrator's contract, please reach out to Mr. Henning before the January meeting to discuss. It's going to be the recommendation that all contracts be renewed. Compensation for the administrator contracts are being done in late spring and early summer after compensation for the rest of the staff has been determined. Any questions regarding administrative contracts or discussion? Moving right along, discussion item H. Operating referendum. We've talked a bit in the past meeting, et cetera. As again stated in your informer packet, we're in the second year of the 3-year operational referendum that was passed in the spring of '23. Our past meeting, we discussed the renewal of the $590K operating referendum, which will expire in the spring of 2026. The 2026-2027 school year will be the next year we could need a new operating referendum in place to replace the existing dollars that currently exist in the budget. The referendum is expected to have a $0 tax impact since this amount is already incorporated in the taxes district residents are currently paying. The board will need to decide the duration of the next $590,000 referendum. So question 1, the operating referendum amount of $590,000. The timing being either 2025 spring or the spring of 2026, and recurring and non-recurring. Questions? Discussion? Opinions?
What does recurring or non-recurring mean? Yeah, same, what is that?
Either like a 3 or 5 year term or perpetual.
Oh, so
Recurring would be
not doing that 2 years ago?
We barely got it passed.
Yeah, we originally went for a 5-year term the first time, and then we listened to the community and ended up shortening it and lowering it, so, at that time, community feedback was shorter and less. But the reality of it is, it's something that I don't see us not needing going forward, so you have to decide, do you wanna keep going back and asking, or just include it going forward, and it's part of our revenue limit every year.
Or we could set a different end date, we just set a 10-year end date on it, or a 20-year end date. or
Yeah,
whatever
you
we
can
want.
do any term you want, yep.
Do we have any major loan paybacks that are done in a certain length of time, 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, the 2018 referendum, you said was done in 2038?
Yes.
Yeah.
March, yep.
So if we do that 13 years, what is the end of what that is?
How much is the debt service payment every year for that?
I couldn't hear, I'm sorry, what?
Is the debt service payment roughly,
Around 700,000, it's in.
It's on the last page of the handout she had for us today.
So that's what I would recommend. We extend it through when those payments don't have to be made anymore.
yeah, the only thing that, when you stop having to make the payment on the debt service, you don't get that money to do something else with. That money will go away at that time too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But it'd be one way to sell this, that you don't have to do it every 3 years. Because understandably, people are, if I were just a citizen looking at this, I'd say, well, I'm perfectly fine with the continuing operating referendum while we still need it, but by the time that the other referendums, the work that's been done, the infrastructure projects have been paid off, I don't necessarily want to give the school $700,000 just to spend willy-nilly. I'd want to have some oversight over that as a citizen. That would be my sell anyways, to not doing it every 3 years again.
Any other thoughts?
Why would we do it spring of 2025 or spring of 2026? Could we do fall of 2026? And then if it failed, we still had the spring of 2026, kind of like what we did the last time?
There's no elections in the fall of 25.
Yeah, there's no election in that fall.
So if it fails in 25, or if it fails in 26, we're out of options.
Yeah, you have to have a special election just for that, right?
No, I'm saying fall of 2026.
Yeah, you could actually, Sarah is right, you could technically do it in fall of 2026, but, if you don't pass it in the fall of 2026, you've already started the school year anticipating having that money, and so then it's too late in most people's opinion. I mean, you could cut teachers mid-year, I guess, but, it's too late to make the budget changes to fix the budget for that year, and so then you end up running a giant deficit. So technically, yes, you could do it. Is it recommended? No.
Because that referendum expires in the spring of 2026. So technically, we still have that referendum until the spring. So we could have it in the fall, and if it failed, we would still have enough time, right? We still would have those funds until the spring.
I think you're a year off. So if we don't,
Because it says operating referendum that expires in the spring of 2026. So I'm talking about the fall of, I am talking about the fall of 2025.
Yeah.
yeah.
But you are right, though. You could do it in the fall of 2026 too. It's just that you've already started the year
No.
not knowing if you're gonna have the
I
money.
meant the fall of 2025, then the spring of 2026. If it does not, we still would have that time.
We just don't have there's just no election in the fall of 2025.
Okay.
So you got April, possibly August, and then November.
Yeah, you used to be able to go on the primary dates, and you could hold special elections, but the laws changed a few years ago and you can only go on the general elections now.
I kinda like the idea of, recurring. It says to the community, would love it if the state would cut loose with some of their stockpile. It says, we're really working, we just aren't coming back thinking you're a rich uncle here. I don't know what amount we're gonna need. Doing all right at 590, maybe it's gonna need to be 700 next time or something, but, we do, I think too, in the meantime, we need to help share some of the news, like we said, we're in the top tier for academic performance. Granted, we have some challenges, but we're in the lower third for tax rates. And those lower third includes the facilities updates, and it includes the operating referendum. So folks, don't go back and cry because we put in a auditorium and fixed our infrastructure, and then we come back and need an operating referendum. We're still low-cost performers.
I just think if we're gonna, I think if we're gonna try to really get the community, the next item is get the community involved and have a committee. I think it's gonna be too fast for this spring to put it, because we're already in December. It's gonna be real fast to get that done by April. Committee formed, committee meetings, and then get the paperwork in on time. I don't know, maybe we could, but if we're really gonna do that citizens advisory committee, I don't know if we can do it that fast.
Yeah, the deadline to get on the ballot's January 27th, so you have your January board meeting, that's about it.
I'm not too concerned about that either. You do it or you don't. But I know what you mean. We want the community to be involved. We don't want to feel that we're shoving it at them.
Well, I think if you look at the question, the last meeting, I think everyone, so I'd look to reaffirm, but we were gonna stay with that $590,000 amount. Is everyone still there with that
I'm there.
justification?
I am there, yeah.
So the next thing is, so are we gonna try to hit in the spring of 25 or the spring of 26?
I go for 5.
25. I'm for 5.
I mean, it's not gonna get any.
It gives you a second crack at it if you don't do it first time. Yes,
Agreed.
same.
But to Sarah's point, yeah, there's a lot of work that has to get done to do that, but, I would agree too that what do we have to lose on ultimately, right? Let's start getting the word out now.
Yeah.
So that brings us down to the recurring or non-recurring. So we've heard people talk on both sides of the coin. I kind of like the sentiment of the 3 to 5 year because there's that unknown. We don't know what we're gonna need further out into the future. I'd like to think the state's gonna change some things, with the number of referendums that are out there. I don't think this can continue, but nobody really knows. That allows us to adjust to what we need and what we're receiving with a shorter time frame. And I think if we go out as far, I understand your logic, but the further we go out, I think that's a harder sell. Because there's that unknown.
Yeah, and I'm plenty persuadable that way. I guess I'm more of like a cap on the 13 years than more than would be willing to do. I'm perfectly fine with less.
Sure.
Year, that's what you wanted.
Right.
Doesn't matter to me.
Any other thoughts?
I'm also between 3 to 5. I don't want to tie future boards that
we may not be a part of down too much by pushing for too much right now.
So there is another way of looking at that recurring versus non-recurring, and I think it's an important factor. So when staff are making decisions about signing in a district or staying in a district, they are looking to see if the funding is going to be there to support programs into the future. And, you know, I don't necessarily like to get overly concerned with what everybody else around us is doing, but when you see other districts around us passing multi-million-dollar referendums that are recurring for staffing, pay, and compensation, and then, you know, we're going back every 3 years, crossing our fingers, hoping the taxpayers support it, and then their jobs being on the line, it doesn't create a great culture in your school. And I think we fight enough battles here with retaining staff that I'd advocate for the recurring on the 590. You can have the discussion with the community about whether you want to do more or something else, but the 590 is kind of that keep the lights on, keep programs going. I think your staff would be a strong message to your staff that you're committed to keeping at least what we have in place. We can talk about other stuff down the road.
I had not given that any thought at all, but I can certainly see it.
Thoughts? That being said, I could go either way. I get it both ways. I said that, but you guys said go with strapping ourselves to it.
Yep.
Again, it's not,
Yep.
we're looking at a crystal ball, right? So.
Hearing that, I kind of changing my mind and go towards non-recurring.
Recurring or non-recurring? Recurring, yeah. I know what you mean.
Susan, what are your thoughts?
I just think it's a really hard sell with this community. We really struggled, and I think if we go recurring, that makes it even a harder sell to the community. I appreciate the perspective for our staff, I certainly do, but in order to be successful in passing the referendum, I guess I have to see it from that perspective as well. And I think it's a bigger priority to pass it than to not pass it on that piece of it.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I can see the point and I agree with it to a point, but I'm still afraid of tying future boards' hands by reaching for that. I could stretch out the years of the ask, but I don't want to go to the recurring.
Yeah, and you don't really tie a future board's hands because you can always, it gives you the levying authority, it doesn't mean you have to exercise it.
Gotcha. So we can say, okay, this year, we don't need that 590 and just.
Schools do it all the time.
Does it go away and then we don't get it unless we go back to the?
No, you always have it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you can always do less, but you just can't do more.
Susan, what do you think the max time frame we could reasonably sell?
I don't know, we struggled with 5 years. The first time we tried to pass a referendum, we didn't pass it with 5, and we went to 3. And we barely passed it at 3-year 590. I mean, it was a tight election. I think there was some anxiety that it wasn't gonna happen. I would hesitate to go more than 5.
And was the ask, the original ask for 5?
Yeah, the original ask was for higher than 5.
It was 5, but it was for 700.
Okay, I thought the
5
dollar,
years, yeah, 5
the
years.
dollar amount per year was much higher.
Yeah,
than
so we
the
reduced the dollar amount and the
Okay,
years.
so then that's what I remember.
Well, would you be comfortable with 5 to start with? Because keep
With
in
a
mind,
5
that's the
year.
one advantage of going in 2025 is that you get a second crack again.
Yeah,
So we get to feel out the community and find out,
I for
are
sure
they,
would be comfortable with asking for 5 years, yes.
and that's the answer. You get $5.90 for 5 years, and that, I mean, I was a teacher, I'd be at least somewhat comfortable for a while. A lot can change in 5 years,
Agreed.
you know.
Sarah?
I agree. I would do the non-recurring spring of 2025. I do think it's a rush, but if we can get a committee together of the citizens, I think that would go a long way. We did not do that the first time or the second time. So, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Mr. Yurgis?
I'm fine with 5 year, 590.
Okay. It sounds like we have consensus of non-recurring, but a 5-year period. The amount of 590, and we will go full-fledged in the spring of 2025. All right. Let's move into discussion item I, Citizens Advisory Committee. So I guess we've jump-started this conversation, but what is the board's thoughts about establishing a Citizens Advisory Committee, which would help us explain or educate all on the operating referendum, what we're proposing, and why we need it. Is there anybody be opposed to this?
Yeah, just, this could go any way that you want it to go, but I just kind of want to explain what I was thinking, because I heard your conversation last meeting about, sort of the 590 being something that we all agreed needed to be done, but that maybe there was more or other things that needed to be done. And we took some feedback last time we went to the referendums, because, people asked about other things, and why didn't we include this, or why didn't we consider that? And, and to find out what those things are, you just have to engage in those conversations with the people of the district. You certainly could ask them, more about the 590 referendum, but my thinking for this was, do you want to ask about other things also, perhaps a second question or more items, and that's something I think, we have to expand that group. And then, of course, once you decide on what that is, then educating the community and getting that out to the public, that group can become your advocacy group as well.
How do you form such a committee?
I think we would advertise and invite anybody that wanted to, put it in the paper and send it out to parents and community members, put it in the newsletter, put it in the Courier.
If I recall, I think we have something in policy in regards to a public committee. I remember reviewing terminology on it. I believe it gives some guidelines in forming that.
Yeah.
Said committee. Discussion? Questions?
And then do you imagine operationalizing the committee in association with this meeting, in a separate meeting? What do you think that looks like?
Well, it's gonna have to be pretty quick, because, we have to get this in by January 27th.
Well, I think the committee also serves other purposes, right? Like they're the voice between January and April to get out to the community to say, this is why we need this
Yeah.
referendum. So it's way more than just drafting what you propose. It's using that committee to help sell the referendum
Right.
more than anything, I think.
It's capturing public input, yep.
Brian, you were talking about having the committee have some input onto what the actual referendum language would look like, if there'd be a second portion of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to be able to ask that committee if, they prefer 3 or 5 years for the 590 also, but I don't know if we're gonna get a chance to
Yeah, I don't
do
think we
that.
have time.
You sort of have to make the decision on the 590 now if you wanna go in spring of 2025. But you could start asking that group about bigger picture items and possibly a second question, and then also, as you work with them, they might help, prior to April's election or future elections. Because if you do this for 5 years, you're gonna have to do it again in 4 years anyway, right?
So,
like we pretty much answered the questions here. So the non-listed question refers to our Citizens Advisory Committee. I think after our January meeting, we can review our policy at the meeting and then push forward to construct our committee.
I guess I would challenge that and say between now and then, we should review our policy and put something out to the community. I don't think it should wait until January.
Yeah, our policy is fairly general. It just states that the board has the right to use advisory committees to tackle bigger issues in the district. It gives you the authority to do that. Give yourself the authority.
I just don't see,
Nobody's opposed to the committee, so.
No.
I don't see too many people jumping in until after the first of the year. You know, do I want to sign up for something
Because of the holiday.
because of the holidays and the dead of winter? Not especially. But we can go for it.
Doesn't hurt to get the word out, but no, I would disagree. I'm sure people are gonna be tied up with other things for the next few weeks, but.
I mean, we struggle to get people involved at any time of
I
year.
see the public
so-
here. Yeah, it's a little bit different approach because, you know, in past referendums, we sort of did a lot of the sit and gets, right? Like, come and listen and we'll share information and you can give us your feedback, but I think an advisory committee is more, you know, a regular, you're meeting with them on a regular basis as the process goes along. And they're part of the decision-making process. Obviously, the board has the final decision, but they would be more involved instead of just in a sit and get information type of format.
So what would we like to do? Would we like to start advertising, get the word out? Or do we want to look at options at the next meeting, or?
I think we should advertise, get the word out for volunteers for this group.
Okay.
We can live with it.
Do you need anything else, Mr. Henning, or?
Oh.
Okay. Are there any future, before we go to Jay, are there any future agenda items that board members want on the agenda? Okay. I will make a motion to move to a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1C, and that are noted in the state statutes, allowing us to move to a closed session. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
That is a roll call vote.
Crave, yes.
Kwame, yes.
Dolphin, yes.
Schneider, yes.
Or yes.
Cummings, yes.
Harry's, yes.
All right. Motion passes on a 7-0 vote. And let the record show at 7:44. We'll take a brief recess and allow for the cameras to be turned on. Thank you all.